Hey everybody, welcome to another video. Now, I may specialize in aftermarket wheels, but that doesn't mean I'm only exclusive to that. Sometimes factory wheels like these Bbs Rcs need love too. These Bbs Rcs are a very popular wheel in the early 2000s when it came to Audi and Volkswagen. I've actually owned two sets of these myself for my wife's Mark IV Golf, and I absolutely love these wheels. They're a really good stock wheel, factory wheel, that looks like an aftermarket wheel, especially if you replace the Audi or the Volkswagen caps in the middle of these hex caps and replace them with BBS. They will look like a nice BBS aftermarket wheel. They're a great fitment, they're a stock wheel, so you know you have the reliability of wear and tear, especially cracks and things like that. You know they're gonna fit on the vehicle because they're gonna be hub-centric. So these are a great upgrade if you're running Steelies or just running something smaller. You can always upgrade from your 15 or 16-inch wheels to either a 17 or an 18-inch version of these wheels. Now, these are in complete factory condition. The guy bought these off Facebook Marketplace for pretty cheap, and they're coming here to get a full restoration. Let me show you some of the issues these wheels have. So first things first, just general wear and tear and scratches. None of this is really through the paint at all into the bare metal, so that's not gonna be an issue that I'm gonna have to sand a bunch of the metal out because of these scratches. Now, there's a minor bit of curb rash right up here. That's no big deal to get out. That'll take me 2 seconds to fix. They're all in relatively good shape. I don't see any corrosion coming through. Down here on the bead is pretty normal. You're gonna see that with pretty much every factory wheel. And the worst part of these are actually the caps themselves. A lot of people don't realize that these actually just unscrew, especially if they're very tight and you don't have the correct tool, which you can buy for these. They're basically a giant wrench specifically made for these, I guess, double or triple square hex caps. And they actually come off and they're threaded. Now, what a lot of people don't realize is when they do that, these plates come with them. A lot of people use screwdrivers to try to remove these and pop them off because there are some variations of these wheels or this style that are just the plastic prongs that will snap into here. So people, as you can see here, this is damaged, it's bent. So all of those have to get fixed. Every single one of these is actually bent. And it's really hard to find these wheels complete with caps because if you don't put them on correctly, they're gonna fly off on the highway and you're gonna lose them. And they're kind of hard to find. I know some companies do remake things like this. It's just expensive to get them. So if you don't really care about these wheels much, generally people don't replace these caps unless you're a diehard, Audi or Volkswagen guy and you want these to look all brand new. So like I said, all of these are bent. You can see this one right here, it's bent up. So I have to straighten out all these plates. These are called the plates. These are called the hex caps and the center coin or center cap. But technically all of this is the center cap. So I'm just gonna call this the plate, the hex, and that will be the center cap. Again, just a little bit of curb rash. There's a curb rash over here. That's no big deal. That's very easy to get out. And the worst part about all of this for me personally is these hex caps. People generally use channel locks or some big vice grips or generally channel locks to fix these or to fasten these down, which I have to fix. So if you take this apart, let me get into the right lighting. All of these are bite marks from channel locks. Now you can see some markings on the outside barrel here. This is from the wheel repair shop that actually fixed the bends. So I checked these wheels and all 4 of them were bent. Now I don't have a bend repair machine here at my shop. I outsourced that work to a wheel repair shop close to me. So I didn't get any footage of that. It's kind of boring, but they were all bent. So the customer unfortunately didn't know when purchasing these. So just in the future, if anybody wants to buy some wheels off marketplace, If you can possibly get them to show you videos of each wheel spinning or check them yourself, it might be obvious, but most times it's not. All 4 of these were very minor bends, but enough that if you're refinishing the set of wheels anyway, you definitely want them to perform as they should and not cause vibrations when driving the vehicle. After you get them refinished, restored, painted, powdered, polished, whatever it may be, you don't want to then send them for a bend repair after the fact. It's going to ruin the finish that you've just paid to have put on. Now, a good indication of if you're buying a set of wheels, just a little pro tip, check the wheel weights. If you see an absolute crap ton of wheel weights, especially a big one in a certain spot like this, you know that there's probably going to be a bend, and the bend is actually directly opposite that right here. That's where the bend was, and that's where the wheel weight was. So look out for that, especially if you're going to buy a set of used wheels. As you've seen, these wheels are in not the best condition, but they're not in the worst condition. Like I said, the bends have been taken care of, the curb rash and some nicks on the spokes. I don't even think that's down to bare metal at all. So I'll be able to tell once these are chemical stripped if there is actually any metal damage to fix, but I'm pretty confident that there isn't. And if there is, it's gonna take me 2 seconds to fix anyway. So I'm gonna cut out the valve stems, take off the wheel weights, throw these in the chemical stripper, and then I'm gonna show you how to disassemble these caps. Now with those out the way, we can focus on the caps themselves. Now these come apart into actually 5 separate pieces. So there's actually a circlip right here, or a retaining clip. Very simple. That comes off of the plastic threads themselves. If they're not there, it's always wise to get these because it actually stops the hex and the plate from separating. So when you take off the hex from the wheel, this plate's probably gonna fall on the ground, which you don't want. So 1 piece, 2 piece. The actual Audi or Volkswagen logo in the middle just has some plastic tongs on the inside. You can generally just push those out very easy. Very dirty on the back, and all the prongs are actually intact. So that's 3 pieces. Now the 4 pieces is the plastic thread and the actual metal hex itself. Now these are what's tricky to get apart. Now, all you're gonna need for tools are just 2 screwdrivers, 2 flathead screwdrivers. What you need to do is actually get into, you can see some little reliefs down here where the tongue is. When you put your screwdriver in this gap right here and push back, you're gonna notice on the other side, you're actually lifting up the cap or separating them from each other. This is where you wanna put a little bit of pressure on it and get the other one underneath, and that's gonna hold it and stop it from going back. Now, this can be a bit tricky. You're gonna try lock this in place, try keep it there, and move around to the next one. So I'm gonna go to the next one where the most pressure is. And again, you're gonna push this one back the best you can. And you're gonna hear, you might hear some clicks because that's it actually separating. Now, it's separated on 2 of the prongs right here. Get the 3rd one and just put a little bit of pressure. You'll hear all these kinds of sounds. Don't worry, it's not actually them snapping, hopefully. Definitely don't do this when the caps are cold. Do it when they're room temperature. Now you might have to work the 2nd screwdriver around just to add some tension. Definitely it releasing. This should go nice and freely. You shouldn't have to really try that hard to separate these. There we go. And now, there are all your 5 pieces. Now that I have all these apart, what I'm actually gonna do is put these plastic threads through my vapor blaster. It's non-abrasive and it cleans very well. Fortunately, I have a vapor blaster and I can do that. I'm also gonna put the back of these center caps through the vapor blaster as well. I'm not gonna tape up the front because I'm just gonna hold it in my hand with my glove like this and nothing's gonna get to the front side. So I'm gonna clean up the back of the cap, I'm gonna clean up all the threads, and all these hex caps and all these plates can also go in the chemical stripper with the wheels. Now, when it comes to center plates like this, I like to arrange them opposite to each other. So you can see that I've put these two face together, these two back together, and these two face together. That's so when they're all stacked in the same way, they might actually stick together when chemical stripping and the chemical might not fully get in between them. So I always like to create as much space between them as I can. Now these retaining rings are super clean. There's no corrosion on them. There's no grease on them. I just gave them a quick wipe down with a paper towel. The plastic threads came out really nice. They're not shiny by any means. They're a little marred up. As you can see, there's a ring around the outside and a ring on the inside from where they tighten down, but they're clean. So there's absolutely no chance of dirt getting on yourself or messing up anything on the wheels, the threads, anything like that. They are super clean. Now the actual coins themselves, I would say I'm impressed with how these came out, but I do this quite often. This is just a regular practice in my shop. These things look brand spanking new, despite some of the actual chrome peeling off, as you can see right there with my thumb. Some chrome has come off of the Audi rings on a couple of them, especially this one as well. And I think one of the prongs on the other side has snapped because it's lifting a bit. But on the inside of all of them, these things look brand new, as you can see. Vapor blasting really just took all that off. And again, it's non-abrasive, so it didn't actually do anything to the plastic by making it rough. It just cleans off the surface. Mind you, it's not meant for this. Vapor blasting isn't meant for cleaning plastic. It's just one of the benefits I found from using it. It is mainly to clean up and micro polish aluminum, basically. If you do check out my Instagram, you'll see I do a ton of vapor blasting on intake manifolds, anything like that, any metal that's aluminum and you want it to look brand new again, that's what it's for. But cleaning plastic, center caps like this is just a major benefit for having a vapor blaster, and I can restore caps and make them look brand new again. These hex caps have now come out of the chemical stripper and they look actually really nice. One of these has almost no damage on it whatsoever, and the other three unfortunately have a ton of damage on them. Because this has a glossy, polished, reflective finish, it's actually really hard to tell what's corrosion and what is actually damaged. So the next step, I'm gonna sandblast these. I'll be able to see everything even better. Then I'm gonna fix them with cartridge rolls or sanding cones. They're quite aggressive. They're about 80 grit or 120 grit. You can just buy those at Harbor Freight or Princess Auto. And I'm gonna fix all that. I'm gonna outgas them after that and then do a final sandblast once they're all outgassed and fixed. And then I'm gonna be doing a chrome powder coat and a clear coat. And the final result is no more damage and all blasted, ready for coating. Now to hang these, I use these very small C hooks, and I actually locate the BBS, which is on all of the caps. I go in from the back side and go back around to the front right here and hang them just like this. Now this typically isn't as high as I like to hang these when it comes to my rack, so I use another S hook. It's always nice to do each one individually. I have in the past tried to hang them one off another like so, but then you end up daisy chaining them way too long. They swing around a bit too much, and there's a chance that the hook touches the part that you want coated. Now hanging them like this is one of the easiest ways to do it. There's no messing around with wires. There's no trying to figure it out. It's the same every single time. And if you watch my last video, you'll know that I like to hang things up every single time the exact same way. So this is what I've been doing with these caps since I've been coating. It's always just find the BBS logo, and you want to leave the most inconspicuous hook marks that you can on any part. So these are going to be absolutely invisible once the plastic threads go in from the back, and especially when the Audi cap goes over the front. You want to leave the least amount of marks, which will also help with corrosion in the future. These typically won't see much corrosion now, especially with blasting 2 coats of powder. These hooks leave the tiniest amount of marks. Because of the surface area that these tiny thin hooks are going to touch, you're going to have the least amount of bare metal left over versus using a hook like this. These wheels have now come out of outgassing after the chemical strip process, and it's time to inspect for any damages. So what I'm looking for now is just any metal damage that's pretty obvious that should be taken care of before I do sandblasting. So as you can probably hear, this is pretty rough. You can see that something, this is probably a factory finish, or I see this a lot with factory finishes, is just a bit of deburring. They use some kind of flap wheel just to take some roughness away, but you can tell that there's some rough patches here on the spokes. So I'm gonna go over this with 80 grit on a palm sander. I'm gonna basically smooth out all the casting on the top of the spokes right here. I'm not gonna worry about the insides. This is all nice and smooth. It's all just around here, around the center. There's a little bit of damage right here. This might look very minor to you, but this is something that will show through the powder coat. I want this edge to be completely uniform. There's also a couple little dimples right here. You can just about see given the angle. A couple dimples right here. I want to get that out because you'll see that in the final finish. Some dimples like this, you want to get that out as well. And all in all, they're in pretty good shape. Another bit of damage right here. I want to make sure that all of this is smooth before I continue with the sandblasting process, and definitely take care of this before you want to coat anything. Another area to look out for, which is equally as important, is the rolled over part of the lip. So I would consider this the bead. I know this is the bead right here, but I always call it the bead around the edge of the lip. I want to sand all this stuff out too. This is probably from rock chips or from probably just mishandling with the tire off, you know, probably laying on a concrete floor or on gravel or something like that. I want to take care of all of this as well. So I can put this on my spinning machine. I can take care of all that and spin the wheels, hold a piece of sandpaper to it on a block, and I can uniformly take this down instead of focusing on one spot at a time, which will actually cause some flat spots. Another important place to look at is the back side of the lip. A lot of wheels just get put down on gravel, they get put down on concrete, they're dragged around. So I want to make sure that the back of the lip right here that actually you will see with a tire on, I want to make sure all that is nice and smooth as well. And these don't have it, but a lot of wheels usually do, is from a tire machine clamping to the wheel. People will clamp on the inside versus grabbing from the outside, and it will leave dimples all the way around the inside of the wheel, or gouges depending on how bad of a tire operator you have gone to. Luckily, these don't have anything, but usually what I do is I don't sand them out, but I will always take off the high spots. Usually I won't try sand the dimples out because they can be too deep. I usually just take off the high spots or anything that's sticking up just to make sure that the metal is all flat. Okay, so these have been pretty well inspected. I'm just gonna basically sand the entire top of the spokes on all 4 wheels just to make sure that there's no roughness, which oddly enough, this wheel isn't rough at all, but that one is very rough. The other two are just finishing the outgas process right now because I can only fit 2 in the oven at a time. I'm gonna sand the outside of the lip just a little bit and then go over, stick it on my machine, give it a quick spin, a quick sand, and then we can get to the blasting process. All 4 wheels have now been sanded. They've been spun, sanded front and back. I don't know if you can quite tell on the camera, but I went from the bead all the way over into the back, all the way past where the tire machine claws might be hitting. Like I said, there's no tire machine dimples in here, which is actually really good. That's one of the things that drives me absolutely crazy when it comes to wheels is improper tire clamping, or at least wheel clamping for putting tires on. So all the beads have been sanded all around the lip. Last thing to do before blasting these is to plug the center bores. I've cleaned these up in the middle so they're nice and shiny, and we want to protect the threads. There's no point blasting in there. We're not going to be coating in there, and there's no point leaving a raw blasted metal finish, which looks like white metal and it doesn't look good. So plugging from both the front and back sides, make sure these are nice and secure. We don't want the pressure of the blaster to blow them out. Now that these are blasted, they're a nice uniform white metal finish. What I'm gonna do is give them one final inspection to make sure I've got every bit of corrosion and every bit of leftover paint or primer that may still be on the wheel. As you can see, the screen here on my glass is pretty bad. I've been meaning to replace this for weeks, and the dust collector needs a new filter, so it gets pretty bad to see through here. There's a bunch of mist spots on here on the inside of the spokes. So a quick tip, use a piece of chalk to highlight those areas. That way you can see it through the dust and through a bad screen. It's definitely worth taking the extra time to do another inspection. I'm again taking the 3rd inspection of these. This is the 2nd one after blasting. In and out, especially where the tire covers, the beads, you want to make sure all the corrosion's gone from there. You don't want any of this to come back. You want your work to last as long as possible, for decades even. Now the inside is all buffed up. The back pad is all nice and shiny again. That's some aftercare stuff I like to do after blasting. I'm not taking any material off the back. I'm just getting rid of the white metal blasted look. This also has another benefit using the vacuum tools that you get from Scott Coats, Coatings by Coats. It actually helps the longevity of those tools as well. The 3D printed rubber or plastic will actually wear down over time when you wipe them against a blasted surface versus a nice, smooth, lightly sanded surface. With this one done, let's get the other 3 finished as well. The next thing to do is actually take care of these plates. As you can see, there's a huge bend here from someone trying to remove this the improper way. There's a bunch of damage, so that's where the spinner machine comes in handy. I can actually mount this to the machine with a strong backing pad here, and I can actually hammer and dolly this flat to make sure that this bend comes out. With the bend now repaired and it's all running true and flat, there's a bunch of damage here from the screwdriver or whatever tool they use and gouged up the back of here. This is just as important to take care of. We want to take care of all the sharp edges, and the outside is actually pretty nasty. You can feel and snag your finger on this. So I'm going to sand this here on the back side. I'm going to flip it over and then take care of this final edge that you're actually going to see once these are installed. Now all of the inside is actually sanded. It looks pretty good. It's never going to be 100%. I could sand this for hours to get it perfect, but this is such thin material, I don't want to weaken it anymore. Now I flip this around because the actual edge here is damaged, and both edges are actually pretty sharp from when this was either machined flat or from its, dimple die process or whatever it is to make these. I'm going to use a sanding block again. I'm going to take care of this little sharp edge. I'm going to round off both sides. One final thing to do before I blast these is actually to figure out how I'm going to hang these. Now, I know what I'm going to do, but this is just for you and to show you the best method. Now, I have these little V hooks, which in theory are okay, but there's a lot of movement here. So if you're rolling this in and out of the oven on your rack, it's going to swing back and forth. If I get a close up right here, there's not much clearance. You're going to have a pretty nasty light spot or a line where the hook is going to cover. Now I have these C hooks. These are the same ones that I use for the hex caps. These are a little bit better. They leave a lot of clearance, but the problem is, again, if they swing back and forth, you're going to hit all of there. It has a lot of movement. So what I do, again, find the BBS, which the back of the caps probably will have, and I'm going to drill a tiny little hole big enough for this to slip through on this angled part right here, where you can obviously see it's angled up. I'm going to drill a tiny little hole right where the BBS is. I'm going to use a little bit of sandpaper to clean off the front side. We want that hole to look like it's factory, and it is meant to be there. Now I'm going to use this C hook and go from the back side and hook it over, and it's going to rest just like this. You're going to have one tiny little light spot or a touch mark right here, but it's on the back side that you're never going to see. And obviously the hook is going through the hole, so that's going to leave next to no mark. You're only going to get that little mark right there on the back where it touches. On a side you're not going to see, and all of that is going to be covered. With the wheels done, these are now ready to hang up and ready for coating. Now, hanging wheels is a huge topic of discussion when it comes to the powder coating industry. What's the best method? What's going to leave the least amount of marks when done? Typically, you're going to see an eye bolt, or you're going to see wires or chains wrapped around the outer barrel. Neither, in my opinion, are good or efficient. I'm going to show you something even better. It's called the axis anchor. The R2R axis anchors are a specialized heavy-duty fastening system designed to securely hang wheels and parts during a coating or painting process, eliminating the need for wires, chains, or eye bolts. Made from 304 stainless steel, these anchors are designed to withstand the harsh environments of powder coating, whether it be the heat cycles or chemical stripping. They've been stress test rated to hang up to 350 pounds. These stainless steel reusable anchors fit through valve stem holes and come in the original, heavy duty, and mini sizes for various wheel types and valve stem size holes. Some of the key benefits of using axis anchors are that they provide stable, strong grip for heavy items to reduce the risk of falling parts. It simplifies the racking process and saves time compared to traditional wiring methods. They're designed to create minimal marks on parts, which is crucial for high-quality professional finishes. For
your convenience, these can be found where you buy powder coating supplies. Prismatic powders, emerald coatings, Columbia coatings, Cherokee chemicals, and of course, directly from Axis Anchors themselves. These are designed and made in America and can be shipped worldwide.
Thanks again, Rich from Rags to Riches, also known as the R2R Axis Anchors, for supplying me with all these products to get my work done efficiently and cleanly. Now, let's get back to coating these wheels. As you just saw, I have blown off the wheels, make sure all the dust is off them after media blasting. And then I went over with one of those little handheld propane torches. That's gonna burn off any residual dust that's stuck on there, maybe any media, any lint that may have got on there if it touched my clothes. That's just one extra precautionary step I like to take to make sure these are completely contaminant free. And as you can see, there's two big plugs in here. I use these from High Temp Masking Supply. There's one in the front, one in the back. It just saves that little extra time of vacuuming out the center. Once I've coated these, I'm gonna remove both, just do a little cleanup around the edges because the top of this right here, I actually wanna leave powder free as well. That's because I don't wanna add too much thickness on the top of this area right here. That's actually gonna make the center cap sit a little higher than it's meant to be. If there's two coats of powder on the cap, which is the silver and the clear, and then two coats on the top of this right here, also a silver and a clear, essentially 4 coats of powder is gonna make the center plate stick out a little further than it's intended to be. So if I keep this side powder free, on the cap it's gonna be nice and thin. That way the cap's gonna sit roughly about where it should from the factory. Now let's load up the powder into the hopper and get spraying.
While the wheels are in the oven doing their final cure, I'm gonna assemble the rest of the caps. As you can see, I just finished this one already, and it looks brand spanking new. This is actually the one that had the most damage. As you can see right here, this was the worst of it, and this is where I didn't really want to sand all the rest of that out to cause an issue on the inside. But just a nice close-up, you can see the contrast between the chrome hex cap and the metallic silver plate. Looks really good, and obviously on the inside, it looks amazingly clean too. And of course, all the lettering on the back side of the cap, you can still read it all. This one says 0923519. It's all legible. That just shows that the powder is not too thick, even with clear coat and a silver base. So let's get the 3 finished. First thing is to get the actual hexes, and we just basically push these back in. You're gonna hear a nice big snap to lock those in place. Then these just go through the plates, and you want to get this retaining ring, and you're going to want to push it down to the very bottom groove that's exposed. As you can see, it's going to naturally want to fall into this groove, but it's one more down, work it around, and then that keeps the hex and the cap tight together. And finally is just putting in the center caps. What I'm doing on all of these is actually locating the BBS, and I'm putting the Audi logo left to right, basically at a 90-degree angle to the BBS. I'm sure that's just a little bit of OCD kicking in, but I just want to make sure everything is all symmetrical and is in the exact same place. And there we have it, all 4 caps looking brand new, front and back. Now, we just gotta wait for the wheels to come out of the oven. And just like that, these BBS RCs are restored. From the 5 pieces of the caps to the wheels themselves, there wasn't a surface or part left untouched, making these things look as good as new. If you're interested in learning more about powder coating, or you've seen something in this video you want to learn more about, go check out my Patreon page where there's over 100 tutorial videos all about powder coating tricks, tips, tools, and even more. It's time for me to call the customer and let him know his wheels are done. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys on the next project.